Forgive me.
This is the Buntarelli Show.
For this episode, I had already promoted, we're going to do Transformers. I'm not going to put a spoiler warning on this because I could really review this movie and talk Transformers without spoiling it. So here's my thing. I don't want to hop on a bandwagon about like bashing Michael Bay and this and that, and the Transformers don't look right. You know, the internet is full of all that crap. We've all heard the same stories over and over again. So I'm going to hit it from my perspective because if you go to the first Transformers, the original first Transformers in 2007, that thing was goosebump crazy, okay? Go back in your mind to the first time. Now, from my perspective, I took a friend who wasn't really, he's younger than me, so he wasn't watching Transformers and the Saturday morning cartoons like I was, and he wasn't watching it every day. I would come home from school, be watching it Optimus Prime, got all the toys. I would play with the toy, and I would open up the instruction book and look at other pictures of the other toys to add to my collection. And I was thinking ahead of it, I want to have every single Transformer. So when this Transformers phenomenon started, I was all about it. Well, this thing started strong, and it took a turn. And this is what I'm going to say to you, because the first complaints were, okay, they don't look like the toys look and the cartoon looks. But you know what? Get over it. It's not going to look the same, okay? You got to change something to make things more realistic. Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man took some risks. They did the organic web shooters. I bought into that because how are you going to explain like Spider-Man not only got these powers, but then he also, by coincidence, happened to know how to build web shooters. So I bought that, and I buy it when he builds the web shooters. I'm cool either way, but you have to have some room for some artistic interpretation, and you got to be open-minded. Let's start with the series went right and where it went wrong, okay? So the first big announcement, when the 2007 movie first came out, they're showing us these these images, and everybody's freaking out. It's like, oh, they don't look like the toy did or the cartoon did and everything. Once again, you got to have an open mind. So I was cool with all that. Then the exciting move that got all the fanboys turned around was to bring in a Peter-Cullen. Now, Peter-Cullen was the original voice of Optimus Prime for the 80s cartoon. So that's got that was Michael Bay's way of saying, everybody calm down, I'm paying attention here. So we got Peter-Cullen. So Peter-Cullen also plays the voice of Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. And now if you think about both their voices, you can make that connection. It's like, Autobots, roll out. And then you got, not that it matters anyway. Same guy. So they gave us that. So Hugo Weaving, they bring in Hugo Weaving as Megatron, and everybody's freaking out because frank-welker isn't doing Megatron. Now, frank-welker was also a voice actor from the 80s. He would play Fred from Scooby-Doo. He also played Ray from the original Ghostbusters cartoon. He actually used his own voice for Fred and for Ray, and if you go back and look at clips, you'll realize the same voice is his normal voice. And he also did Megatron. He also provided the voices of Soundwave. He's been in the game for a long time. Go back in your head. I went and saw Transformers with somebody that was not into it when they were a kid. And, I watched this experience. It's like when you watch a movie you've seen with somebody else for the first time and you get to experience it all over again for the first time. And this guy was just a hardcore trucker, cool dude, but he just was like, a good old boy and just not into this like nerdy stuff that I was into. So we took him to Transformers, and I had my mind blown away, and he had his mind blown away. Now, just remember in the beginning when like things were unfolding and you're learning different stuff, and if you remember, like Bumblebee's first fight with Barricade, the first time Barricade transformed, he goes, "Where are the glasses?" and just freaks you out, and the police car turns into Decepticon. The fight with Bumblebee, and all of a sudden, all the Transformers landing. Remember your heart racing that first time. This is the first time it was a freaking magical experience. It's been a lot of ups and downs since, which is why we lose track of that. But that first time, like the presence of these robots, they're all learning their terraforms of the different cars and Optimus Prime. One of the robots, I think it was Optimus Prime, he gets out of a pool. And we're like, oh God, the Transformers are here. It's freaking like awesome. It was like Goosebump City. And, the first battle with Megatron and everything was just constant like excitement and energy. After that first one, and it's always you're trying to recapture the magic of the first one, But anyway, if you think about the time when Starscream, he bombs that city and, Bumblebee's got his legs blown off and he's crawling and it's all like the sad. It was so much like emotional stuff going on. And then, right from the start of the second movie, this thing just took a dive. Here's my problem is like, you can't buy the danger of the situation when guys are making dopey jokes between like, humans getting chased by giant robots that should be able to kill them. You kind of lose that sense of danger. And it loses the suspense. In the second and third movies, you get Sam Witwicky, like he's sliding down buildings that are like turning sideways, and everybody's miraculously surviving everything. And it's just, I could suspend my belief for anything, but you've taken away the element of danger because nobody's even dying. Or even, you never see a human die, not a main character. And the Transformers are constantly ripping each other's heads off and they come back the next movie. Megatron dies every single movie. Or every other movie. And then he becomes Galvatron. Now in this new movie, he's Megatron again. Let's go to The Last Night and where I'm at. Because I went into The Last Night like, okay, I'm going to see this movie. Now I'll give you a little going backwards. The one that came out before, Age of Extinction. Age of Extinction, I slept on it in the theater. I said, I'll just wait for DVD. Because I was getting burnt out of it. Because now it's just like, it's great. It's entertaining to watch, but there's no depth to it anymore. You can't just put out this cardboard popcorn crap with no substance to it. And you have to respect the content. And, you don't have to stay true to, the original content, but at least do something. Give us some sort of, like, some risk or something. But you're just shoving, like, oh, they want to see this, they want to see that in our face. And eventually we're going to get tired of your bullshit, Michael Bay. And that's what happened. So I went into this third movie, which started out so promising. And it was very story-driven. The problem is first of all, 3 hours. No Transformers movie ever should be 3 hours. Because there got to a point, I just got burnt out. Like, it just stopped going anywhere. I don't know. They went to this, and for when you have seen a movie, the submarine scene, the story was building. I'm like, okay, this is cool. And the movie opens great. The Merlin stuff and all the King Arthur stuff. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And then something took a turn where I was just getting tired. I just said, they had this submarine scene, and the movie completely lost me. Because they need to find an artifact that's important to the storytelling. And it just lost me. And now I'm watching these action scenes again, and you can only watch these big metal pieces of garbage like tumble around with each other so much. And this isn't me ranting because I love Transformers. And this movie, it was better than the last one. It was probably the best one since 1 because they actually tried to slap a story together and acknowledge what had happened in the other movies. The problem is humans are too used to the Autobots. So you have this little teenage girl coming out and telling Megatron, I'm not scared of you. How are you not scared of Megatron? Like, really, Megatron could just step on you. I'd be scared. We'd all be running from these things. Even like Transformers 2, you got Sam fighting Megatron, and it's just ridiculous. No, I'm sorry. I think Sam killed Starscream, or he was fighting Starscream or something. It's like, no. I want to go near these freaking things. I want to go near the good ones. And like I said, I suspend your belief, but it's I don't know, something lost me. I was really all about this first one, and something took a turn where I just got tired of it. And maybe because Optimus Prime wasn't there till the, later in the movie, and Peter-Cullen playing Optimus Prime, it does say something for the movie. Because that presence, he has a commanding presence. He's like, Autobots, roll out. This is the end, Megatron. You get stuff like that. And like, they even said in the movie, somebody made a reference to it. They're like, oh, you get goosebumps every time. And it's true, and maybe it's part of our nostalgia where we go back to that inner child watching the Saturday morning cartoons and watching Optimus Prime. Like I said, this thing just took a turn and I just got tired of it. I liked it. I wasn't like bored of it. It didn't stink, but it just, and maybe somebody watching it for the first time would be like, wow, this is really cool. But the thing is burnt out. Now, here's the problem. This franchise is burnt out and Michael Bay's done with it. But from what I'm seeing, what they're thinking of doing, I don't think is a good idea. There's some stuff going on with Bumblebee, and I don't want to spoil anything, but it looks like they're pointing us towards this Bumblebee spin-off solo movie. Because of the success of Marvel and the Avengers, anybody thinks they could pull this off and do these successful like spin-offs. And you can't. You can't just spin off something because your franchise is so strong you think you can just do everything. Like, here's another problem, and I'm going to switch off of Transformers, but I was prepared to do it, was this thing with Spider-Man. Now, Spider-Man is coming out in from the time this podcast launches, which is Wednesday, will be out the following week. So the next Bunzerelli show will be Spider-Man. Super psyched for this movie. Now, it's a team-up between Marvel Studios and Sony. You know, Sony, to refresh everybody, if you don't know the exact Sony-Marvel deal, and I'm going to try to do it really quick because I've talked about this before, is when Marvel was going bankrupt years ago, they sold their movie rights to whoever would buy them. And they sold the X-Men to Fox, and they sold Spider-Man to Sony. So even though in the comics you see Wolverine and Spider-Man and Captain America all hanging out, they're all in different movie studios now. But Sony just recently, because the last Amazing Spider-Man 2 kind of flopped, Sony made this deal with Marvel. Let's bring Spider-Man back into the Marvel universe. And I'm not exactly sure the specs of the deal, but whatever it is, Sony and Marvel split something, or they either split the whatever, but now Spider-Man lives in that universe with Captain America, Iron Man, which is why Iron Man's going to have a pretty prominent role in this new Spider-Man. Now, here's the problem. Sony looks like they're going to blow it again. Now, if you go back to the time when Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out, they were setting up to do this, like all these crazy spin-offs, whatever they could, because everybody wants to build these franchise universes. Even Star Wars is starting to, is dabbling in it very carefully, doing these in-between movies. Rogue One is a success, but the Han Solo movie, and we're going to get back to that, that's starting to look like a mess right now. Who knows? But anyway, somebody's doing this Venom announcement. And, the first thing they say is Tom Hardy's Venom. So everybody's like, yeah, hooray, Tom Hardy. He's badass as Bane. So, how could it go wrong? But you know what? It could, because back in the Amazing Spider-Man days, Sony had this harebrained idea they were going to do a Sinister Six movie. So it's like, how do you just make a movie featuring a bad guys? Or, how's that going to tie into Amazing Spider-Man? It's like they rush up to like, hey, let's just make a franchise. We don't know what we're doing. We don't have a plan, but we have these characters we have the rights to. So let's just make a big world franchise, release a movie every year, and it'll be a big money-making tank that Disney is. You can't just force that magic. You can't force a rainbow. And that's what Sony tried to do. Now, here's the problem. So Marvel's all over this Spider-Man movie now. The reviews are coming in, best Spider-Man ever. I'm pretty confident in it. But now, is Sony going to F this whole thing up? And they really might. Because how are you going to have Venom with a spider on his chest, and he's shooting webs swinging around, and he's not supposed to exist in the Marvel universe and have nothing to do with Spider-Man? It's like Sony's like ran back up like, hey, how can we milk this thing as fast as we can? I don't know. I'm hoping it's a success. I'm hoping I don't blow it. But right now you hear Sony saying, hey, Venom's going to be in the Marvel universe. And you hear Marvel saying, hey, Venom's not going to be in the Marvel universe. So apparently you guys didn't talk about this. And we have no idea what this project's going to happen. Spider-Man will be a success. Spider-Man's going to be awesome. I don't think Sony's going to hurt Spider-Man with whatever dumb moves they make with these other characters. But just why meddle with this franchise? Why, Marvel's been on a solid boom, 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 like, some weak ones, but never a bad one. Don't this up, Sony. So let's go back to Transformers. So, the storyline was solid. They did have a solid idea. The problem is you stretched it out to 3 hours, so you have these action scenes that we just don't care about. The other problem is you've killed off most of the cool Transformers. So we have this second batch from Age of Extinction. The best part about Age of Extinction was John Goodman playing Hound. What's the next step forward for this franchise? And what I think is, I don't think they should go in this world-building direction with this Bumblebee and all this stuff. I think the next move, I think it needs to be a reboot. Keep Peter-Cullen, but Michael Bay's gone anyway, but you've ran the course of this storyline as far as it could go. I know you want to go back in time with Bumblebee, but nobody cares. Watching Bumblebee during World War II isn't going to be as cool as watching Wonder Woman. Bumblebee's displaced anyway. I don't need to see him in a different time or any of that. It doesn't work with Transformers. You can't steal that thunder. You can't recapture that magic. So just reboot. Let the thing cool off for a couple of years. Whatever the max is that Paramount could keep the rights, let it cool off that max and just reboot it. It's okay. We've gone through 3 Spider-Man. Just reboot it. Different look, different everything. I like the look. I thought the look was really cool, the way they used to transform, but, just start all over. This thing has been milked to death, and it's time to let it go. It was a good, they definitely tried this movie, and you'll enjoy it. It was good, and I'm not so much ranting on the movie, but I'm ranting on the franchise. The franchise is burnt out, and you got to let it go. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.